Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. I've been doing some thinking about the state of the economy from a man's perspective. I think it's absolutely at the precipice of a collapse, a pure collapse. I don't think we've ever seen anything as bad as what's going to happen. I'm going to go on a rant. All right, this is what it is. Wages aren't keeping up. Two households' income are not picking up. They're not supplying the basic necessities of life. Hypothetically speaking, hypothetically speaking, even if you had, I live in Alabama, and let's just say that the average salary here to sustain yourself, you need about $4,000 after taxes, right? To sustain, right? Yes, people might complain, yes or no, it's true or not, but think about it this way: if a house costs 200,000 with a 7% interest rate, and then the insurance, which is ridiculous, right? You're gonna approach easy $2,000 a month, right? Electricity, etc., right? With utilities, that by itself wipes out half of your income. Hypothetically speaking, let's say that when the man or the woman earns only $2,000 a month, so that's one salary is gone, right? Sorry, my camera is AI, so it flips by itself. But then you got the other half, and then that half has to pay for the bills of the house, meaning the food, the insurance, right? Of personal health insurance. And then you may get a couple of $100, maybe just a few, if you're lucky, a few $100 a month in extra, just to say we made it another month. The chance that those two people can actually increase their salary, very, very low. But you know what doesn't stay down? Housing, inflation. The cost of living never goes down. And there's no fixing it for a simple reason, and you won't like this one. They don't care. They don't care that the average person is struggling. And since this is a man's channel, I'm going to tell you this from the perspective of a man. They don't care about the men that supply the economy that they are saying is the best economy in the world. These men have never ever cared, once they entered power, about the average guy. But the average guy is sustaining the economy. I understand that if you're a business owner, you're there to make money, but you're also there to provide a service. If there is no services to provide, there is no workers, there is no customers. I get it. It's a revolving chain of balance. I understand. What I don't understand is how come the CEO of a health insurance company, for example, can get a $100 million a year salary and deny health insurance claims just out of the whim, whatever they want to feel like it. That's just one example. I mean, the average person gets one ER bill, just one a year. They're wiped out, completely bankrupt. Also, this information is not new. There's plenty of people out there talking about the exact same thing. What frustrates me is we're kind of all going in this circular, continuous line, basically the circle that never ends, of complaining because we know what the problem is, but then when we try to fix it, there's either people who are like, oh, you're just lazy and you can't do anything, or there's those that simply refuse to allow people to change it because it destroys the status quo. I am an anti-socialist and an anti-communist, just for perspective. But you know what I'm also anti? Cronyism. I absolutely despise the fact that governments are being paid by corporations to make laws in favor of their company, of their institution. COVID was the biggest eye opener in human history, where people finally realized that the medical industry was lying to them about almost almost everything. Vaccines. People started distrusting vaccines after COVID, but they'll say, trust the science. Nobody cares about the science. The science has been proven more fake than true. A lot of people were forced to get the vaccine, me included, because I was in the military. I should have refused. And I can tell you with verifiable personal experience that I had side effects with the COVID. I can't run properly anymore before I get a stabbing sensation in the heart. I thought it was just exhaustion, but I tested this again and it was continuous. It did not stop. But you know what? I also discovered how to control it. I also discovered that the more carbohydrates you eat, by the way, if you're not aware, almost everything that you eat except animal products is carbohydrates, including vegetables. But that's the topic for another day. I'm here to rant about this shitty situation of the market. It is absolutely insane to me that companies will easily fire local communities to hire foreigners to replace those people in the local communities, but then report massive record profits. A lot of these tech companies did that this year. I will tell you this from what I understand of history, and it's this simple. The more you dissatisfy the local population, meaning Americans, the more civil unrest you are creating. There's a reason why movies like The Purge became famous in the first place. And funny enough, it has nothing to do with people who want to do evil, committing evil crimes. I haven't even watched The Purge, but I understand the concept of it. What I understand is, because crime is now legal, what's going to end up happening in The Purge is a bunch of people will go after who they consider evil. I don't advocate for violence at all, just to make that clear. But I'm warning people, do not dissatisfy the local population. Yes, is it to keep people appeased? Of course. What do you expect? To make them angry and be happy about it? What kind of world do you live in? We as Americans have a duty to our American citizens. But we somehow have this idea, since the creation of NAFTA, that it's totally permissible to ship jobs overseas. And no one bats an eye. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. If you can guarantee that American citizens get paid a great wage, instead of hiring a foreigner to do the job, you have my support. You know why? Because when the economics are looking good, societies look good. They care about their communities. But what I dislike is you say one thing on the one side of your ear and say the other on the other. You cannot simply say that you care about Americans and then immediately fire a bunch of people and hire people who have nothing to do with the local population. If construction is over-dominated by illegals, hire Americans and pay them more. After all, it's their houses. This shouldn't even be controversial. I'm just warning people here. I am a nobody. I simply relay a message that people will more and more talk about. I am your average Joe. I was in the military. I left the military partly because I couldn't handle the leadership. But I also realized that the military still has potential. A lot of people in America lack the discipline to pursue their goals. And I always recommend people to join the military for that exact same reason. If you lack discipline in your goals, that's going to straighten you out, and I guarantee it. But besides the military, we pay so much in a bunch of stuff that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we were talking about when we were discovering about the DOGE cuts, there's a bunch of programs that are overseas. And you're like, why are they overseas in the first place? Why are studies that we fund overseas in the first place? There should be zero studies until we solve our own problems. There was a study that paid like $250,000. It's not much in terms of the budget from the federal government, but still. Not 1 cent should go to study stupid things like, let's study how Japanese quails can be gay or some crap. Absolutely insanity, right? But other things, like, why are we funding nations? We can call it what we want. We're giving them money, but the local population is struggling. I'm not even getting into geopolitics. I'm getting at the core issue of why are we giving money to countries that have nothing to do with us, America? Our population is struggling. Excuse me, there's something. But what I was getting into is what frustrates me is we care more about anything that happens outside of our borders, but we could care less about, for example, the social problems that we have. Healthcare is absolutely expensive. We overfund, for example, education in public schools, and a lot of them, there's so many problems in the public education system. Obviously, money is not the issue. But my other issue with this whole thing is that even if we do fund a lot of things, it goes to mismanagement. We fund a lot of social services that are turning out to be absolutely useless. I mean, the amount of videos of people recording that, the amount of they get in child support, for example, even though this is a personal issue, right? They're spending it on lobster for their dogs or Snap, and they're buying the most useless things in Snap, like soda. How is this acceptable, for example? But that's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem that I still have is, how dare do people hire foreigners when the local population cannot have a job? And don't come to me that we cannot train the local population, because we can. The only difference is you are too lazy and too arrogant in your perspective that you want to upskill your own workers. So instead of firing your people because you found someone more qualified, upskill the guy, the gal. A lot of people are frustrated because when they're wiped out of their debt, of their income and savings, and now they get an emergency room visit, they have to pay 10 grand at least. For what? And then they can't find a job. There was a crazy story about this woman who donated her kidney, I think, to her boss. And then her boss fired her because apparently, quote unquote, or I'm paraphrasing here, she took too long to recover. Nope, I'm not making that up. And people wonder why nobody cares about anyone. I mean, the company started this fiasco. They decided to fire people whenever they wanted to. No reason, no explanations given. Right? And then they're surprised when their coworkers don't care about doing anything but the bare minimum to get their pay, essentially. It's like, why aren't you putting more time and effort? What time and effort? You're going to fire me tomorrow. But somehow I'm the problem instead of your culture is the problem. Your culture that says you aren't guaranteed a job here, right? So you do one fuck up, that's the end of the story. No warning. No, hey, this is what you need to do to improve. Nah. Hey, why don't you upskill? Because we need people to move up and we need other people are joining. No, that's not important. Let's fire you to hire somebody else to train them, and they may or may not be as good or better than you. But that's a problem, because whatever reasons you want to give, nobody cares about people. I always thought that the purpose of business is to, yes, number one, make money, obviously, but number two, provide a service. But the service doesn't exclude your employees' dissatisfaction. You have employees that you have to take care of. Think about it this way. If your employee is satisfied, why would they have any animosity towards you? Regardless of what you think in your head or not, or what kind of like snarky comments you make. Are they getting paid well? Do they care about your snarky comments? I doubt it. I mean, if you're paying fantastically well in a job and they make a bunch of snarky comments, who cares? I'll take the snarky comments if you pay me 10 grand a month. I was like, psh, man, you're right. Even though you think it's wrong, right? But it's absolutely insane in my mind. What are we doing? I'm just flabbergasted, really. Here's another crazy story. I applied for a job on ZipRecruiter as I don't remember, entry-level data analyst. And somehow it turned out to be a scam. The request for the job, right? And then the benefits that were given, completely reasonable, right? But then I'm like, I don't know, this sounds suspicious, right? I had to research a bunch of things. I mean, they used the proper credentials. That's what's crazy about that. But I ended up finding out that the webpage that they created was just 2 months ago. So I realized immediately it was a scam. That was lucky. I'm not going to be honest with you, because they also said, text me to this different number. So that was a big red flag. But like, even those people who are scamming people, they're scamming people out of the hopes of having a job. That's wild to me. We scam people who don't have jobs because they're desperate for a job. And then we don't pay them a decent salary so that they can actually survive. Just survive. Pay bills, buy a little bit of food, no savings. That doesn't even exist. But what kind of skills can they acquire if you're expecting them to have skills before having an entry-level job, but no job will hire them because they have no experience? Nothing of this that I've talked about is new. But I'm not the only one who's talking about this. There's thousands of people online talking about the exact same thing. I am absolutely concerned for the future of our nation if men do not get stable jobs. Why do I say men? Men create the revolutions. Men are the ones that stand at the forefront. They will tear a nation down or build it. So heed my words. If you piss off men enough, it ain't gonna end well. Find a way to please your employees in a decent way. Let them have a decent life. I am not saying extravagant spending. I am saying there's a possibility that they have a family that they need to take care of, because hypothetically speaking, there's not enough good jobs out there, so only one person can work, or the other one has a really bad salary. Care about your employees if you have the chance to own a business. And for the rest of us who are still finding a path out of this mess, take it one day at a time, brothers and sisters. And remember, no matter how angry and pissed off you are, Jesus Christ always said, and I'm paraphrasing, that patience is an absolute virtue. Let love flow through you. no matter how angry you are, let it be as Jesus Christ has ordained. And that is enough of my rant for today, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I'll think about the consequences of life at another time, but I'll see you another time. Bye now.